Morning Sourcing Hub, how are we doing? Happy Monday to you. Hope you're good. So I'm in the office this morning. I left the house in the dark. It's definitely winter. Well, no, we're not saying the W word, are we? I think we're saying autumn at this point. So yeah, in the office super early this morning. I'm in a really good mood this morning because I spent 2 days in the office this week, like doing a big spring clean and getting rid of loads of old shit. And like shredding loads of stuff and dealing with loads of old crap. So I'll come in this morning and it's like super tidy, super neat and a clean fresh slate, which is lovely. I've also got box fresh kicks on, which is always a good thing on a Monday morning. And yeah, the sun is, the sky is super pink this morning. I don't know if anyone's seen the sunrise this morning, but it's beautiful. Anyway, I thought I'd do a quick video this morning because I've been asked a couple of times over the weekend about this. And I think because I'm in the middle of a flip and I've been showing what we've been doing on Instagram and Facebook. By the way, if you're on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to learn how to use Instagram. So please feel free to follow me, Sarah LD Poynton. But yeah, I got this question a couple of times over the weekend. How do you appraise a house to consider it for a flip? Or in another way it's asked, which is how do you appraise the numbers on a BMV deal? Now, controversial maybe. I'm not sure that BMV's a thing. Sorry if that offends anybody. I actually think something's only worth what someone will pay for it. And if you are the person making the offer, then what it's worth is what it's worth. I also think that actually we shouldn't really be targeting things where we can manipulate a price to get the best for us, but actually leave someone else financially in a bad place. I think that's the wrong, I just don't think it's an ethical way to do business. But something's only worth what it's worth, right? It's worth, and you know, how you appraise the numbers on that is actually a really simple process to it. So I thought I'd just talk you through it. You need to start with, not with the property that you've actually got that you're looking at. You need to start with the comparables of what it will be worth when it's done. Yeah, so you need to start with what the house will look like. Think about like what finish you'll put it to, what size it will be, where it will be, the location, the demand, all of those sorts of things, the tenant groups, who will buy it, end user, all that stuff. Start with your end game in mind, and that gives you your done up value or your GDV or whatever you want to call it. Let's say that the done up value of a property is £190,000, right? And you've got that from comparables that you've seen on solds and for sales in the marketplace. So solds you can get from Zoopla, for sales you can get from Zoopla and Rightmove. We also go another layer and we go another 2 layers, which is to speak to local agents about what they'd put it back on the market for when it was done up, and get like we usually speak to 3, if not 4, get a rough guide and then go with like a midpoint average of the figures that they give us. And then we also look at pound per square foot. So what is, if that house in that postcode is is X pounds per square foot, and this house that we're buying up the road is bigger, but is in the same area, then you can use that pound per square foot comparable to price it up. And basically, when you do all of that research together, what happens is you can pull together a number which is effectively around the right number of what that house will be done up in current conditions once it's finished. So let's say it's worth 190,000, right? From that, you then need to deduct a load of stuff. And those deductions, that process of deducting stuff, that is what is going to get you to a point where you can get a price that you can offer. Okay, so there's a firm rule in our business, and should be in yours as well, is that asking price is bollocks. We don't ever look and appraise a deal based on asking price because it doesn't actually matter. It's a vanity figure. It's not necessarily what it's worth. So, you know, where you can find added value opportunities like loft conversions, turning a 2-bed into a 3-bed. You know, these are all the things that you can look for in a property that will allow you to bring your done up value up as high as possible, right? So we start with the done up value. You then need to take out your build costs. So let's say the refurb's going to be, I don't know, 40 grand, 190 minus 40. Yeah, so we're now at 150. It's early and I haven't had a coffee, so maths might be slow for me this morning. So we're now at 150, right? Then you've got to borrow that money. Most people that are in property are doing this with other people's money, right? No money down's not a thing. Again, possibly controversial. Some money somewhere has to transact for it to be a transaction. So there is no such thing as no money down. There is none of your money down. You can borrow other people's money to do it. That's totally acceptable, and that makes total sense to me. But there does need to be money from somewhere, right? So let's say that £40,000 refurb cost, you have to borrow that money, then you have to write those borrowing costs into the structure of the deal. So we generally work on about 1% a month for the full term of the project. So let's say it's a 12-month project, 1% a month. Every month for 12 months is 12%. 12% of £40,000. I've got no idea what it is off the top of my head, but you need to take that off, right? Now, the reason we work at 1% is because borrowing money will probably never be more expensive than that. Yes, before everybody like jumps on and keyboard warriors me, you can borrow money way more cheaply than that. You know, bridging companies, normal lending, you know, you could borrow it from a mate probably for 6%, 5%, you know, it definitely can be cheaper than that. But when we're doing numbers to appraise a flip or any kind of deal really, it's really important that we do worst case scenario, not best case scenario. So like we've had done up values, if you think it could be worth 190 to 200, go with 190. Because then if it comes up higher, brilliant, you've made more money. But actually, if it doesn't, then you've not lost anything. So borrowing costs, we usually work about 1% a month for the full term. And that also factors in our like getting in money, getting out money. So with things like bridging loans, you have to pay a fee to get in, you have to pay your surveys, you have to pay your valuations, blah, 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 blah. So that usually isn't much more expensive than that on like bog standard flips. So we usually do 1% a month. So that then is the borrowing cost of the refurb covered. Then we got to buy it, right? So there's legals to buy it. So on, you know, on a 100-ish, 100 to 150,000 pound house, it's probably about 10 grand legals. Solicitors, again, surveys, valuations, stamp, all of this sort of stuff, 10-ish grand. You need to figure out what your figure is on your house. Stamp duty, there's a stamp duty calculator online. Just go and get the exact number. It's super easy. Get some quotes from your solicitors, what they'll charge you. Get some quotes from your agents, what they'll charge you to sell it, what they'll charge you to buy it. Generally, you don't pay to buy, but you will pay to sell it if you're flipping. So get those figures. They go in next. So you've now got 150, let's say minus 10, we're now at 140, right? Then we've got to actually physically transact and buy it. So we've got to find out what we can actually offer, and we need to make a profit, right? So at this point, what we would then be doing is saying, well, let's say it's asking price is 120, just for this particular occasion, right? So we're now on 140, the asking price is 120, but we want to make 30 grand on it, which means we can't offer 120. It doesn't make sense. If we wanted it, and it wouldn't leave us any contingency at all to offer 120. So 140, let's say we want to make £30,000, that's 110. Yeah, that takes us down to 110. If we offered £110,000, we have to borrow that money to buy it as well. Yeah. So what also needs to be factored in is the borrowing cost to buy the deal in the first place. So let's say, again, it's 1% a month. It probably won't be that expensive, but it gives you some natural contingency for voids, delays, runovers, you know, errors, mistakes, etc. And also, if you make more profit than you're expecting, you can also always give some back to the vendor if you feel like you've kind of come off better than they have. You can always do like what's called a kickback on overage or something like that. You don't have to keep it all if you don't want to, although you might do. So 110,000, you've got to borrow 110,000 pounds. Okay, so 1% a month of 110,000 for a 12-month project gives you the borrowing cost. Again, I can't work out that maths in my head before I've had coffee. Can't do it. But what will happen is when you take that figure off of 110, that will give you what you can physically offer for that house. Let's say, I don't know, for argument's sake, right now it's 100 grand. There's a science behind getting to the 100 grand. What we don't do is just look at a price, drop 20 grand off it and offer. There has to be a scientific reason why your offer is 100 grand if it's on the market for 120. And the reason for that is because, one, you don't want to rip people off because that's not fair. But 2, it's a way that you can negotiate better with your agents, because if you can show them scientifically how you've got to that number, or mathematically, actually, it's not actually science, is it? It's mathematics, I guess. Again, no coffee. If you can show them 190 minus this, minus this, minus this, minus this, it's all true numbers that they can't really argue because they understand the process. The most we can offer on this, the most value we can apply to this asset is X pounds. That's what we're offering. That's what we can transact on. This is a proof of funds. This is job done. Now, a lot of people overcomplicate this process. You really don't need to. It's a process of elimination. You just come down, 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 down. Now, there'll be some people saying to me, well, if you're using a bridge, for example, you wouldn't borrow at 1% a month for the full 12 months because actually you might not borrow all of the money from day one. You might borrow it down in tranches, let's say. And tranches, for those of you who don't know, are like drawdown blocks. So you might draw down 10, then 10, then 10, but month 1, month 2, month 3. Now, if you draw down 10 grand in month 3, you haven't got to pay interest on month 1 and 2 of that 10,000, but you've got to pay it from month 3 to month 12. So again, that borrowing cost actually allows you some flexibility of negotiation, because if you can get into the ballpark, let's say you go in with 100 grand as your offer and they say no, it needs to be 105 or it needs to be 106 or whatever it needs to be, you've actually written in natural contingency through the borrowing costs, which means at that point you can go and speak to a broker and say, right, what is my exact borrowing cost? What exactly can I borrow at? What are my exact charges going to be? That in itself will allow you to find some flexibility in the deal. But the other sorts of things that you need to remember that are going to happen if you're doing a flip are things like parking permits for your builders. Yeah, we're doing a flip at the minute, and our parking permits, I have to say, we didn't even think about it beforehand, because we had like a visitor's pass. We thought we'd just get another visitor's pass. Actually, it's like, I don't know, some astronomical amount of money. It's like, I don't know, I actually am not organising it, so I don't know, but a lot of money. And some days they've got like 5 vans there, and it's like 20 quid a day or something outrageous. It's probably not quite that much. That's probably a bit of an exaggeration. But those things all add up over like an 8-week or a 12-week or a 2-year project. Those sorts of things, the costs will add up. So you need to factor those in. And the other thing that people forget to factor in when they're doing flip calculations is things like the council tax, the electric, the gas, while you're doing the build, the water, all of that sort of stuff, because someone's got to pay for that. You own it, you're doing the build on it, so you have to pay for that. So that kind of comes in. We do that at like the legal stage, like what are the actual costs, the extra bits and pieces that come in in the project to make it roll out. They're all the things you need to consider. So I thought that I would just download my head this morning and drop that into you guys. For anybody who's going out and sourcing flip type deals today, tomorrow, this week, hopefully that will help you a little bit to understand how we structure the calculations of that. Anybody who wants to come and talk a little bit more about that, we're doing a one-day networking event on the 19th of October in Milton Keynes, and numbers and crunching numbers of rent-to-rents, flips, SA, those sorts of deals. It's just one of the sessions that we do in the afternoon. I'll make sure the link is under here. If you want to come. It'd be great to hang out with you. It's free to come as well, by the way. Just join us. It'd be really good fun to meet you guys. But yeah, for now, I'm going to go make coffee, get on with my day. Have an amazing week, whatever you're doing this week. Those of you that are on holiday, enjoy it. Those of you that are working, enjoy it even more because it's all good fun. Have a great week, and I'll catch up with you later.